Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dismal Doomers. My name is A.
Yeah, kind of.
Followed by my co-host, Papa Pacelli.
The Dismal Doomers. You're not wrong
I'm
there.
I'm
This
sorry, Geeky Geezers, and also included is the Geezette Netter of Netters Network.
the Gazette.
If she'd like,
There is
okay.
there is a an article that we left in. We had it in as a little bit of a fluff piece. It doesn't need to. I said if we had too much, don't bother. But it's the closest thing that we have to a positive, and it felt like we had to leave it in.
Yeah. Have a great show, Geezers. A sad week indeed. Thank you, Big Al.
It really is. We've got. Oops. I was bringing it up as you were, and sorry about that. There you go.
Wait a minute, we're live. Does that mean millions upon maybe even billions of people could be listening to me right now? And then I'm getting all tongue
Well,
tied. I'm going to embarrass myself. You didn't tell me this would
pretend.
happen after
But
5 years. Anyway,
I was gonna say if you're not used to it by now, ding dong.
thank you,
Uh,
Ruby Hoove,
Ruby
for
Hoove dropped a gifted membership that
thank
went
you.
to Rio Hoshi. Thank you so much for that, Ruby Hoove, and your generosity. I hope you and your family are doing well. And welcome to membership, Rio Hoshi.
Welcome. Yeah, we got some not good news tonight. I'm not going to try
We're
to
gonna have a
sugarcoat it.
lot of that. A
People
lot
losing
of
their, and
that.
of course there was other horrible stuff happened over the weekend that wasn't even entertainment related. Our hearts and prayers go with the flood victims and their families. That's awful what happened
Yep.
over the weekend.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely. This is what happens when you get a little bit of rain on a desert plain that can't absorb it.
it's awful.
It's amazing.
It's the
Uh,
sand. It just does not absorb. But yeah,
it really.
Netters Network. Thank you. I got a hi, sweetie, from her.
Yep, yep. And Connie Cleary saying hail to everybody. Hail to the chat. Hail to myself. Dropping her member emojis. Thank you so much, Connie Cleary, the bird woman of YouTube. Salute to Deleted Scenes, who looks like he's making the rounds on the various channels. Thank you, my friend. He says, hail to the chat. Like, share, and subscribe.
That's
David
always a good thing.
Pensek.
Make sure you're subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, there's no better day than today to subscribe to one of our many fine channels.
David Pensek says, good evening to the Geeky Geezers. Thank you so much, my friend.
Let me see. Storyman Jack, I'm seeing. D. Pensac.
Oh, yeah, if you were on Deleted Scenes, a little bit of a rant there over there. So, yeah, you may get some different rants over here. Some different ones.
Bonjour, Agent Boomer Troy, and the lovely Netters. Thank you. Geek Flag with Nate knows.
Absolutely.
In
Thank
fact,
you.
I believe Netter is wearing your the visit you sent her. The
Oh, look at this. Deleted Scene says 11 million billion people are watching, just so you know. That's a big number. Storyman Jack, hail. Good to see you, my friend. And Vino. That's the way I read that. Wine. No, I know. Vine Vici. Yes.
Vine Vice, which means I came, I saw, I something, or no?
I conquered, yes.
Okay, yes.
I drank bourbon.
Well, that would be, yeah, exactly. Bo, thank you so much. Prayers for the victims in Texas, absolutely. Hail, USRNG. Good to see you, my friend. And Geek Flag with Nate Knows, thank you so much for the $2 super chat today. We take back our Independence Day. There you go. There you
Exactly.
go.
That
Good
was
movie.
from the movie Independence Day,
Yes, it was.
made by Roland Emmerich, who we talked about on
Yes, we
Friday
did.
night.
Mm-hmm.
That weird movie Joey that you thought which I was toying with having you put it up on your poll for this week.
Speaking of my poll, I did have up 4 films. I had up Tough Turf, Gotcha, Clue, and I don't remember what the 4th one was, but it doesn't matter because
Those three are tough because those are all really good, actually. Yeah,
Clue is winning by a landslide. I
people
think we're
love
going to be
Clue.
watching Clue tomorrow.
Clue may not be as rooted in the period because, of course, it's a period movie that was made in the 80s.
Right. But that's fine. That's fine. It was a
I like
good
the
movie. It was very funny. I love the what's her name? Madeline Kahn bit. Yes,
she's perfect
absolutely.
in that. Yes, and Bill Haley in his comments. That's the main theme song. The Shake, Rattle, and Roll. Remember that was. classic rock.
Yeah, we were
Yeah,
gotcha on Friday, of course. Um,
yeah.
good movie.
Which we were talking about that on Friday because we wrapped up our movies of '85. I know Geek Flag would like we did every week. We'll touch on movies again someday. There are always plenty of other '80s years. We haven't done. We did. What did we do? '83. I think we did '83. That
Hmm.
was the big one with Blade Runner and Conan and a bunch of other movies came out that summer.
Real quick, say
All
hi
right.
to Jesse Green and Jedi Master 2022's Lost in Space and Classic Sci-Fi. I'm gonna read out that whole name. I am not going to shortchange you. Tim Curry says that Clue was his favorite movie to make. It looked like it was a whole lot of fun. It really, really does. Clue is great too. Yeah. If you guys can, members. If you're not a member, come on, $2 a month, you could totally do that. Tomorrow night on Members Night at the Movie on my channel, we're almost certainly going to be watching Clue. I have the poll up to the members, but it's at 80% some. I don't see the poll going a different way at this point.
And I can't cheat and vote for anyone that somebody else might like because I'm not a member.
Yeah, that's true.
That
That
movie
is
comes
What I
with
think
free.
is hilarious, though, is that my own member or my own stream will ask me if I want to be a member to my own
Yeah,
channel.
I've
where
had
it's
that come up too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Why would I want to become a member to my own channel?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was that's a classic. That's a classic,
Yep, I agree.
and has three
I
endings,
agree.
and you may get to see all three endings if I recall right. Yeah. So
That's how it's usually the home media version generally does. It could have gone this way or it could have gone that way, but here's how it really ended. And it shows all three.
all right, time to get into the presentation.
Let's present.
Geezers. We often talk about the good old days, and tonight's good old days is going to tie into, unfortunately, our first celebrity death of the week. We have a few
Yeah.
this week, but I'm going to
Quite a
talk
few,
about.
Oh, the X-Files.
Well, not the one particular aspect of the X-Files, though. I love this picture. That was actually from. I think that was from a Cher endorsed episode. It was the black and white episode, and I don't know if Cher was in it, but it was almost like a tribute to Mask, but like a Frankenstein style monster instead of it being like the kid who had the disease. You understand?
Instead of
But
Rocky Dennis, yeah.
yeah, but it was actually in a lot of ways it was kind of a tribute to Mask, and I think they even played one of Cher's songs at the end. I don't know if she was in it because you only saw her from the back, though. I could see it being where she was on set and they only filmed her from the back,
Yeah.
to make you wonder. But apparently, Cher really did endorse this episode. But rest in peace, Mark Snow. Yeah, we'll be getting to that in a minute, unfortunately. But I did want to talk about a CD that came out in my formative years. The X-Files songs in the key of X. We have a nice parental advisory on there. Thank you, Tipper Gore, for that. And this is. Let me talk to you a little bit about this album. So typically we talk about soundtracks for movies, right? Where you have a bunch of songs that were used in the soundtrack. Like I think we had mentioned St. Elmo's Fire recently, right? How you love the soundtrack of that
Yes.
movie.
Absolutely.
You didn't really get it so much for television shows, or if you did, it would be like a score. But this was actually a soundtrack compilation album featuring many songs that were used during X-Files episodes. And released in 1996.
Okay, Boomer. I don't know if it's just me,
No,
but
he's
yeah,
sounding
your
weird.
sound is. Double check your microphone. Make sure you've got a good connection and that you're using the right microphone.
Crap.
Because you just went. Yep, you sound better now.
That's weird. I don't know what happened. Okay, let me restart. Everything okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know why that happened.
Sound good now.
Maybe it was loose
Yep.
or something. All right, but songs in the key of X. It was music from and inspired by the X-Files. This was a compilation album, much like how you got the compilation albums for just movie soundtracks for movies you loved. And it came out in 1996, and it received a lot of positive reviews from critics. And let me get a, like, for instance, some of the songs in this album. You remember the Scream movies, the song Red Right Hand?
Vaguely.
Hold on. Let me go down the list here. This is a bizarre soundtrack. So Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Okay.
Also on this, you had a Sheryl Crow song on the outside. You had Elvis Costello and Brian Eno with the song "My Dark Life." A lot of compilations. Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper worked on a song in this called "Hands of Death." And my favorite though was, it says on the album, "Star Me Kitten." That's not what it was in the song. It's another word. Okay. And "Star Me Kitten" was REM and William S. Burroughs just doing a spoken word on the soundtrack.
Interesting.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
But I did want to get into this though. Look at that cover. There were like little secrets on this album you could unlock. Like if you open it up, more images start appearing. Who do you see to the left there? You have the cigarette smoking man.
Sure.
And you see, looks like that. What is that? Washington D.C. in the background, and some horrible monsters. Yeah. The guy sitting down, you can't see it as well on this picture, but when you looked at it on the album, you see his back turned to you, and it says, "He is one." And that made me go nuts. Who has his back turned to us, and what do they mean by that? He is one. Just like the X-Files would do. Deleted Scene still has it around somewhere. It's a good album. It's very. It really does evoke the spirit of the X-Files and all the songs picked. There's the full album poster when you unveil everything. So you see the cigarette smoking man, and out of his smoke are arising many different horrible X-Files monsters and psychopaths that you've seen on the show.
Wow.
I like the fact the bellhop is in there. He was on an episode with Peter Boyle. Peter Boyle played a man who could see people's death. And there was a psychopath dressed as a bellhop in that episode.
Do you feel like X-Files was in the same universe as Fringe?
No, here's the thing. I know we do little things where they do little nods, right? On these shows. I feel the X-Files was in its own universe. I don't even think that the X-Files was in Millennium's universe, despite the fact that they did a Millennium wrap-up episode on the X-Files, which I consider to be forgotten under penalty of torture.
Oh, wow.
I feel like X-Files had its own mythos and its own worldview. Of course, it went all over the place with its worldview, didn't it? Because they didn't just deal with aliens on that show. They dealt with, sometimes they would deal with religious stuff too. But that was more Millennium's motif anyway. But still have it around.
Writer Albert Lanier says the songs are out there somewhere. And Daniel Berry Sports Highlights says, "Hey everyone, happy Sunday. Welcome. Good to see you."
Welcome, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Now, of course, the title of this album, let me go a little further, is a spoof on the Stevie Wonder album, which I believe was called Songs
in the Key of Life.
Yeah, in the Key of Life. Yeah. This is a cool little album. Of course, the title track on this is the actual X-Files theme. That's the first thing that pops on by Mark Snow. And it's an extended version of the theme. It's a bit longer than the one you got on the actual X-Files TV show. But later on, they did come out with Songs in the Key of Springfield, which was a joke on The Simpsons. Because at many respects, The Simpsons and the X-Files were the two big defining shows of the 90s, were The Simpsons and the X-Files. But both on Fox, when we still had Fox that wasn't owned by Disney.
Completely unrelated to anything else, just about a week ago, the Professor of Rock, great YouTube channel, by the way, did a rundown. I think it was like the top 5 great television themes, and he included the X-Files theme as, I think, if not the top, pretty close to the top.
It's a great theme song. I mean, there have been a ton of great television themes over the years. I used to love the theme to the original Equalizer show on in the 80s. That was one of my favorite television themes.
Yeah.
But and Airwolf, remember Airwolf, the theme to Airwolf?
Absolutely.
That's the back of the album. I love the gray aliens on here.
Sure.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Whitley Strieber's Communion. But this was just a cool little piece of X-Files paraphernalia you picked up. And I think I brought this up too. I thought it was good timing because we just covered Lost Highway last week, and we'll be covering it again this Tuesday.
Yes.
And I brought up the soundtrack
Yes.
to Lost Highway, and I think I had this. This was another CD I had around the same time as the Lost Highway CD, and it got a lot of traction on the player. But I don't know. It's a cool little CD, and some of the songs were indeed songs featured on the show, and some of them were made just for the album. So, and then you get a PM Dong remix at the very end, which I thought was always kind of weird sounding. It was like a remix version of the X-Files thing, which I wasn't as big a fan of. But everything else I loved on here. Like you had Frenzy by Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Interesting.
Who was a American singer-songwriter, but he sang the song "I Put a Spell on You." You've probably heard of that one.
Yep.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know. It's just a cool little CD, and if you never got a chance to pick it up, you can probably still find it. Even if you buy a used edition of it, it was pretty popular back in the day. But
Jesse says he hasn't seen Lost Highway. I recommend it. We are going to do a deep dive on it on Tuesday, a very deep dive. You're going to get a number of different perspectives about what's actually going on. And I think by the end of it, you'll feel pretty confident that we've cracked the code, so to speak.
You like the monsters coming out of the cigarette smoke up there, by the way?
I love this artwork. This has a very... so...
Edward Gorey? Not quite, but yeah.
Back in the 80s, there was a lot of albums that you could pick up at some of the local record shops that were like local bands that had a very limited distribution, and the artwork was all hand-drawn by a local artist, and it had this kind of a feel to it. I really like this.
Yeah. Just really cool. I'm surprised they never released it as an actual poster you could buy, but you could unfold it out of the CD.
Right? Yeah, I can see that.
But, yeah, there was that horrible thing, the worm creature up top, which... That was the episode where Skinner had taken over operations and he didn't believe in all this paranormal stuff. So when Mulder's like, no, we captured this thing. It's in the ambulance. Oh, so whatever. And he wasn't believing it. Then, of course, the thing attacks the people in the ambulance and gets loose again. And that was kind of Skinner's screw up because he wasn't buying Mulder. They think this thing was a mutant that came out of Chernobyl. The thing up there, with the weird teeth. Okay, let's move on to the news of the day. Fortunately, this does tie into our first good old days tonight. Unfortunately, Mark Snow has passed away.
Very unfortunate.
Let's get into it. Mark Snow, the acclaimed television composer, best known for humming the popular theme song to the 1990 sci-fi hit The X-Files, died on Friday. A representative confirmed to Rolling Stone. According to Variety, he spent his last moments in his Connecticut home. He was 78. Snow, born Martin Folterman on August 26, 1946, has earned 15 Emmy nominations for his various TV soundscapes. 6 of those nominations came from his X-Files work, where he scored over 200 episodes of the series. In 2022, Rolling Stone named Snow's X-Files theme one of the 100 greatest TV theme songs of all time. 2 of his Emmy nominations were for his work on the popular series Ghost Whisperer, interesting, and several others for miniseries and specials like An American Story, Oldest Living Confederate, Widow Tells All, and Children of the Dust. Snow's music covered even more series, including Heart to Heart, DJ Hooker, Smallville, and Blue Bloods. He began his career writing orchestral music, but learned to adopt the electronic technique more common today. He reportedly wrote the X-Files theme by accident when his elbow struck his keyboard and created the sound he'd been looking for. As Variety reports in a 2016 Academy interview, Snow said, "It took quite a few years to get where I felt comfortable with the electronics, trying to make something that approximated melodic music. Mostly it was used for ambient sound effect type scores, but the technology kept changing so quickly. There was much more control, and the spectrum of sound really warmed up and started to breathe. These electronic instruments could really make something approximating music. Now I have my keyboard. Here's the show on the screen in front of me, and I just start playing along with it. I improvise, and then I hit on something I like, and I go over it again and again." That's interesting. Okay.
Yep.
So, rest in peace, Mark Snow. I'll say this, the X-Files music, it did sort of have a kind of ambient theme to it when it was on the show, too. I remember that. And I think the show was doing its best to ground itself in as much reality as possible because it was dealing with fantastic subject matter.
Yeah.
So
Do he he did a lot of film, television, made for TV. Do you know what his first made for television film was?
what?
The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. I kid you not.
No!
Yes, John Travolta. Yes.
I thought you were gonna say Bad Ronald.
No, it was not Bad Ronald.
Oh, the
It
boy
was
in the
not Bad
plastic
Ronald.
bubble. That was a
Yep.
Seinfeld episode. Did you know that they did a riff on that on Seinfeld?
Oh my
Where,
gosh,
where,
I
where
can
there was
imagine.
where George is saying they have to go meet somebody who's the kid. He's in a plastic bubble. Oh, it's like that TV that movie, The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. So they were bringing it up on there, and
Oh my gosh.
it's so
Yeah.
bad. You can play the X Files theme in countries where the show didn't even air, and they will know it's the X Files. That's interesting, Geek Flag.
That is an interesting
Still a
aspect there.
classic TV series. I know they're planning a sequel or reboot, which I'm unsure about, to put it lightly. But the original show holds up, at least the first few seasons do. Some of those later
Right.
seasons were not as good. They kept it on too long. But no, still a classic '90s series. And rest in peace, Mark Snow.
Yep.
This came as a shock to me. Fantastic Four and Nip Tuck star
Yep.
Julian McMahon died dead at 56. What the heck is going on here?
Cancer.
Yeah, actor Julian McMahon, one of the two leads on the seminal FX television series Nip Tuck, who also played Doctor Doom in the Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s, has died. He was reportedly 56. Did you watch Nip Tuck?
I watched some of it, a
Okay.
good amount of it. Yeah, not all the seasons, but
I came close
yeah,
to
I
doing
did
that
see
for
them
good
all.
old days also, but
Yeah,
that was a messed up show.
it really was in a lot of ways.
But I
And
loved his.
honestly, I think there's a lot of stories in it that they could not do today
Forget
that
about.
wouldn't get them canceled. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because
Exactly.
the guy that made it, or I think Ryan Murphy, now he does American Horror Story. And if you think about it, there
Yeah.
were some episodes or some story arcs on Nip Tuck which had horror elements in them.
Kinda. Yeah.
Like the psychopath called the Carver that hated plastic surgeons and people getting plastic surgery. Remember that? And he wore a Mardi
Yes.
Gras
And
mask.
then there was a storyline where it was a lot like the movie Face Off. This guy who had um, a a fixation with Julian McMahon's character and wanted to swap lives with him.
Yep.
That was I just remember I think probably the most theoretically horrific one was what's her name? She played Laura Ingalls. What's her name?
Oh, I know who you're talking
Melissa
about,
Sue-
but yeah.
No, it wasn't Melissa Sue Anderson. That was a sister.
It
Melissa
was
Gilbert.
Melissa Gilbert. Yes, she had an episode, and that was just a messed up story. That was just a messed up damn story.
They did a lot of
Oh my
messed up
gosh.
stories in there. I remember Melissa Gilbert played the voice of Batgirl on the original Batman the Animated Series. She was replaced later on by the one who did the Powerpuff Girls. But,
Oh, that's
yeah.
right. That's right. That's right. But the my first exposure to Julian McMahon, of course, was Uncharmed, where he played Cole Turner, a demon
That's right.
that started out as a villain but ended up marrying one of the girls.
Hey, well, good for him. Yeah, Tara Strong later goes on to play Batgirl in the second Batman animated series. But yeah, the news was confirmed in a statement by his official Nip Tuck Facebook page. An additional statement from his wife, Kelly McMahon, told Deadline on Friday that her husband died peacefully this week after a valiant effort to overcome cancer.
Yeah.
And concurrently played Dr. Victor Von Doom in the Fantastic Four movies, co-starring Jessica Alba and Chris Evans from 2005-2007. That was the weird Doctor Doom where he was like a mutant, right? Where he got his metal face powers from the same thing that the Fantastic Four did.
It was kind of weird. They kind of eliminated the element of him. So the thing about Doctor Doom, and I don't know what the hell they're going to do with it in this new continuity, but he is comparable in his power set to both Tony Stark and Doctor Strange. he is both a mystic and a technological guy as far as the armor goes.
Strange.
So yeah, it's almost like if Doctor Strange also had Tony Stark's armor and technical know-how and whatnot. And every iteration of the Fantastic Four has tried to simplify it. So they just said, well, his power set comes from the same thing. He gets, irradiated, and he gets his powers just like the Fantastic Four does. And that causes his face to start growing a metal mask or something. And, he's so vain, it upsets him and stuff. And he gets all these electrical powers like the armor would have had. And it just all, yeah. It was a weak sauce Doctor Doom story. But you know what? Better than Fan Four Stick. I got to say that.
I still haven't seen that. I've been...
Don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time.
So moving on to... I'm telling you, that'd be Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
What is going on? Okay, Michael Madsen, the actor best known for his coolly menacing, steely-eyed, often sadistic characters in films of Quentin Tarantino, including Reservoir Dogs and Kill Bill Volume 2, has died. Madsen was found unresponsive in his home in Malibu, California on Thursday morning and pronounced dead. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Watch Commander Christopher Uragi said he is believed to have died of natural causes, and authorities do not suspect any foul play was involved. Madsen's manager, Ron Smith, said cardiac arrest was the apparent cause. He was 67. And Madsen's career spanned more than 300 credits stretching back to the early 1980s, many in low-budget independent films. He often played low-level thugs, gangsters, and shady cops in small roles. Tarantino would use that identity but make him a main character. His torture of a captured police officer in Tarantino's 1992 directorial debut, Reservoir Dogs, in which Madsen's black-suited bank robber Vic Mr. Blonde Vegas severs a man's ear while dancing to the Steeler Wheels Stuck in the Middle with You.
Stuck in the Middle with You, yes, exactly.
Yes. Was an early...
I can't hear that song now without thinking of that scene.
Yeah, and then he was going to set him on fire. I remember that. Was an early career-defining moment for both director and actor. Madsen told the Associated Press in 2012 that he hated having to do that scene, especially after the actor playing the officer, Kirk Baltz, ad-libbed a line where he begged for his life because he had children. I just said, oh, God, I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it, Madsen said. Acting is such
a... My God! Can you imagine that someone ad-libs that way, does such a good job, it causes you to almost break character? I mean, that's a great behind-the-scenes story.
What that actually says, though, is that Michael Madsen is probably very different from the characters he played in the movies.
Well, he's definitely not a method actor, right? Yeah. He can't really get into that, associating with the psychopath type, acting thing.
His sister, Oscar-nominated Sideways actor Virginia Madsen, was among those paying him tribute on Thursday. He was thunder and velvet, mischief wrapped in tenderness, a poet disguised as an outlaw, a father, a son, a brother etched in contradiction, tempered by love that left its mark. She said in a statement, I'll miss our inside jokes, the sudden laughter, the sound of him. I'll miss the boy he was before the legend. I miss my big brother. Wow. I didn't realize they were related, but it makes sense.
Yes.
Name. Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, JPRPH1. All right. But yeah. And anti-derivative Jill, welcome. I don't know if I've seen you here before, but welcome.
Hey, good to see you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
Okay.
Good.
But Michael Madsen, though, dead at 67. We're losing the greats.
We really are.
I mean,
it's
and I hate to say, it's painfully underused actor in recent years too.
Yeah. Well, and see, that's the other thing. It's like we're losing great actors, not just to, the sands of time, but to the whims of Hollywood that are focusing on idiots. Really, I mean, people that I can't stand when they get in,
conversations
when they're not reading a script.
Oh, look at this. James Woods had something to say. James Wood, Madsen's co-star in 2 films, wrote an X. I was always touched by his sweet nature and generosity, the absolute opposite of the tough guys he portrayed so brilliantly. Okay, so he confirmed what I was just saying. Yeah.
That also kind of says something about his acting, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that you see these movies and you think, oh, tough guy, badass, you know, whatever. And then, but that's totally not who he is in reality, you know?
So, rest in peace, Michael Madsen. But his movies will live on, and we lost one of our. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. He's one of the great character actors, or just great actors in general. I'm sad he's gone. This sucks. Okay.
Oh, yes.
This was interesting. Kenneth Colley, if I'm saying that name
Yeah.
right, dead at 87. Excuse me. Star Wars actor Kenneth Colley has died. He was 87. Colley, who played Admiral Piet in The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, passed away peacefully on Monday at his home in Ashford, Kent. His agent, Julian Owen, confirmed to the Post. Ken Colley is one of our finest actors with a career spanning 60 years. Owen said in a statement to the Post. Owen confirmed that Colley was admitted to the hospital with an injured arm after the fall. The British actor quickly contracted the disease of unknown origin, which developed into pneumonia. Colley had friends by his side when he died, Owen said. Ken continually worked on stage, film, and television, playing a vast array of characters, from Jesus and Monty Python's Life of Brian to evil and eccentric characters in Ken Russell films and the Duke of Vienna in Shakespeare's Measure for Measure for the BBC. Owen's statement continued. Ken's participation in Star Wars led him to being invited to conventions and official fan events all over the world, where he remains one of the best-loved actors from the original trilogy. And he was born December 7th, 1937 in Manchester, Lancashire.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I know his face. He was the one who kept surviving the Star Wars movie.
Absolutely, yes. He's the one who seemed very, very nervous. So, of course, he receives his promotion to Admiral when Admiral Ozzel, or Ozzel, I think is how Vader pronounces it.
My assumption is
moved.
Vader saw the others as incompetent. Yeah.
He said specifically, Lord Vader, the fleet has moved out of Lightspeed, and we are prepared to. You have failed me for the last time, Admiral. Captain Pete. Yes, my lord. Make ready to land our troops beyond the energy shield and deploy the fleet so that nothing gets off the system. You are in command now, Admiral Piet. Thank you, Lord Vader.
Yes. Very nervous.
Turn down this promotion.
I know, no, you do not turn down
in the next text bracket.
But his face absolutely says all of that, because Ozzel is literally strangling to death behind him, and he looks, and he's trying to keep his eye on the camera, and he, oh, I'm an admiral now, yay!
Oh, Geek Flag. Troy already has the poll up for the Monday movies based on the movies we've discussed the past few weeks. Maybe Reservoir Dogs will be sometime in the future, though. Right?
Yes, that was. Yeah, I'm specifically doing films from '85 this week. I will definitely throw. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll do that for next week. I'll do a poll of some films of people who've recently passed and see which ones you guys want to see.
Unfortunately,
I've never seen Reservoir Dogs. I know the famous scene of them walking, but I don't think I've ever seen the movie.
You know the walking scene.
Yeah, because it was also redone in Coupling.
True. I thought I'd played it for you.
Maybe. If so, it didn't really stand out to me.
Well, we'll see if it comes up next week. Otherwise, I'll play it for you separately. But yeah, great one.
All right. So moving on to what the heck? That's not what I wanted to move on to. Hold on.
You missed.
I missed Jimmy Swaggart. I'm sorry. Okay. Do you want to? I guess I gotta read it without. I thought I had a Jimmy Swaggart.
You guys know what Jimmy Swaggart looked like. In a way, he kind of does fill the what do you call it? The and when I do a clip of this later, I'll put up a picture of him to cover up.
We just go back to the Geeky Geezer's sigil, and then I'll talk
But
about Jimmy Swaggart.
Jimmy
Okay.
Swaggart is who a lot of people think of as almost a symbol of the American televangelist, right?
Oh, yeah.
Very oftentimes parodied, in just about everything. I'm sure
Television,
The Simpsons
movies
and stuff. What's that? What's that bawdy one from cable? South Park. All of them have mocked him. But
there was a cut scene from Silence of the Lambs where the guy who ran the institution was forcing Hannibal Lecter to watch a televangelist, like during certain periods of the day, to drive Hannibal Lecter nuts. But they made a point, though. The reason was the televangelist starts talking about what Jesus said about harming a child. What happens if you come to me if you harm the child. And what was interesting, the reason they had that in there, because I believe that the serial killer in this was a victim of childhood abuse. That's why that was in there. But anyway, go ahead, though. You were saying, though.
No. I was going to say that it really doesn't matter where you are in terms of, religion and that kind of thing. I think we are here talking about entertainment and television and pop culture, and it's impossible to ignore that Jimmy Swaggart definitely had a role in, in pop culture. There's just no doubt about it. And I'm sure that for the people that followed him, that had a religious conviction and considered themselves part of his ministry, he was an important figure.
Basically, Sybok was a televangelist without the TV.
That's a great way of yes.
That.
You're not wrong. He actually did kind of run a kind of Vulcan cult. Yeah. Just recently, I saw, and now we're getting a little off topic, but I did see a video about Star Trek. Which one was that? Star Trek 3?
5.
I'm sorry, Star Trek 5, where the person doing the video was doing a different treatment on it. And I kind of liked it. The idea of Sybok not being Spock's brother, but instead being Savik's brother. And kind of digging into her half Romulan heritage, his as well. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But
anyway, I'll just read real quick though from this though. Jimmy Swaggart, the Louisiana preacher who built one of the largest televangelist ministries in the 1980s for becoming embroiled in a sex scandal, died Tuesday at the age of 90. Swaggart never regained consciousness after he suffered a heart attack on Father's Day, according to Jimmy Swaggart Ministries, which still operates out of Baton Rouge. Today our hearts are heavy as we share brother Swaggart has finished his earthly race and entered the presence of his Savior, Jesus Christ. Today was the day he has sung about for decades. He met his beloved Savior and entered the portals of glory. At the same time, we rejoice knowing that we will see him again one day, the church wrote in a post announcing his death. Okay. But yeah.
And Nate brings up the quote, "I have sinned against you."
I remember that. That was one of the famous quotes. Yes.
And it's very difficult. I mean, you can mock it if you want, but
that's his confession to the world and to God. He's saying,
he's doing the exact opposite of what just about every other famous person does. He's admitting it and taking responsibility for it.
What's the definition of is?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, that was another thing.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Because it depends on how you define it, right? Yeah, you play the legalese game, you could justify anything. He didn't justify a single thing. He admitted it and
said he messed up.
And the only people that held it against him were the people that were going to hold it, that didn't like him to begin with.
Yeah, they were looking for anything to tear this man down, I'm sure.
Now, I am not even suggesting that I know really anything about this guy beyond,
I know his mystique from, the 80s and all that. I remember he was always talked about, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we at least had to mention it because he was a big figure in that particular area of, let's call it entertainment, really was. So there you go.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Jimmy Swaggart. I'm sorry I didn't have his picture on here. I don't know how I overlooked that. I'm sorry. Okay. you think you do something and then you find out later you
Yeah.
didn't. That's what happens basically.
Well, and I know you had a bunch of edits going on behind the scenes too, leading up
That's
to the
true.
stream. So
Well, I had to attend a birthday party today, so I wanted to get that done. I thank you for getting
that's
this up
fair.
to me earlier this week. It was
That's
helpful.
fair. Let's talk
Just
about another death, the death of the gaming industry.
Well, yeah, and I did rearrange the articles a little bit, just two. I put the PlayStation 5 article up at the top because I think you saw Xbox in the title and figured it's another Xbox title. I'll explain to you what they're saying. This is actually PlayStation 5 news, and
Oh.
not good PlayStation 5 news, though I hope it's overblown, but I figured I should let everybody know. PlayStation 5 got its own version of the Xbox Red Ring of Death. So the Xbox Red Ring of Death was something that existed during the Xbox 360 era. That was basically mid 2000s on into the next decade. That was where the console would just start malfunctioning and you anyway, but let me read the article.
Yeah.
Despite the original PlayStation 5 not even being 5 years old, a recent report has revealed that its lifespan may be coming to an end, whether we like it or not. Discourse surrounding the PlayStation 5 is rampant this year following the rumors Sony is already working on the PlayStation 6. With many users previously happy to stick with their PlayStation 5 units for a little longer, a recent and shocking report may change some minds. Due to a manufacturing issue, those who own early model PlayStation 5 may not have it for much longer. That it was back in 2023 that the hardware use of liquid metal was first mentioned with concerns that over time this would cause an issue for the units. Well, 2 years have passed and it seems as though those early reports were correct, as the liquid metal issues for early PlayStation 5 models are becoming more widespread, and as a result, some units would cease working altogether in the next few years. Do you remember Xbox's Red Ring of Death? Well, this is basically the PlayStation 5 equivalent. When vertical, so a lot of people like to stack the PlayStation 5 like you see it here, because let's be honest, this is how Sony has pushed people to display the model. It has this weird. You can turn it on its side, but I think they really mean for you to stack it like a computer tower. Do you understand?
Yeah.
When vertical, liquid metal inside the PlayStation 5, which is used to keep it cool, ends up dripping down the console over time, ultimately destroying the APU. As a result, forced shutdowns are becoming the norm, and it's at this point your console could be cooked. The good news is that Sony has been made aware of the problem. As a result, has made some hardware changes to both the PlayStation 5 Pro and PlayStation 5 Slim. So they must have already known about this problem. So for later model PlayStation 5s, they probably corrected them. So if you own the Pro or the Slim, I think you're okay. For those of you that own the early models, the ones we're selling on eBay for 3 times the amount because of the chip shortage. Your system may be dying on you. If your PlayStation 5 starts randomly shutting down, you can safely assume the liquid metal is the culprit. As of now, there's no way to combat this, but storing your PlayStation 5 horizontally may slow down the process somewhat. Hopefully, liquid metal is not an issue when the PlayStation 6 rolls around. Now, I will defend Sony in saying that I think that their intentions with the liquid metal was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this is a manufacturing issue they knew about at launch of console. I hope they didn't. Whereas I think the Red Ring of Death was something Microsoft knew more about. But the liquid solder drip is causing so many overheat. I've seen it for SN multiple times. It's even happening on the revised model. So they stuck with the liquid metal. Sony. It's basically death of physical media. If you don't have physical media to buy, what becomes the point of consoles anyway? Well, so far on consoles, you can still buy physical media. It's not as much as you used to, but especially when it comes to certain consoles. I'm not going to name names. Xbox. Okay, speaking of Xbox, you like that picture I found?
Yeah, I like that.
This is a title. I think Xbox hardware is dead, says founding Xbox team member. As an Amazon associate, okay, sorry, excuse me. I should have cut that out. Laura Fryer, and original Xbox gaming lead, asserts that Microsoft is excited that the Xbox hardware business, signaling the end of Xbox console. She criticizes the unclear strategy and believes Microsoft will rely on third-party OEMs while focusing on Game Pass. Game Pass is their subscription service where you can download new release games for a monthly fee rather than paying for the game outright. Do you like that model?
No.
Okay.
I want to own it. If I don't own it, screw you. I won't. I just won't.
marking a significant shift in Xbox's hardware and gaming approach. One of Microsoft's original, the Microsoft is exiting the hardware business and will stop making Xbox consoles. At least that's what tech legend Laura Fryer believes. Fryer is one of the original few who fostered Microsoft's gaming ambitions in the late '90s with Microsoft Game Studios and helped produce key software for the Xbox console in the early aughts. She saw the original Xbox ship, works alongside other names like Xbox console creator Seamus Blackley, and also helped lead Xbox's Advanced Technical Group (ATG) in its early days. From my perspective, the Xbox strategy has been chaotic. Fryer said in recent video, going on to say that she believes Xbox hardware is dead. In the video, Fryer expresses her disdain with Microsoft's current position and supposed strategy. This strategy has not been made expressly clear to consumers or fans, but The Verge's Tom Warren believes this confusion might actually be the point. The recently announced Xbox Ally X handheld is proof of this, Fryer believes. It's expected Microsoft will just rely on third-party OEMs to make their new hardware for them, including the next-gen Xbox PC plus console hybrid. So, I guess they'll stop making the hardware themselves, but they'll license it for anybody else to make.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what the
your guess
equivalent
is better
to
than
this.
mine.
That's what she's thinking. It's died. Michael Palin said. Okay. There's been more Xbox news this week, though. That's Phil Spencer. Okay. Microsoft makes significant layoffs across gaming division. Microsoft has today made significant layoffs to its gaming division per a memo sent to staff by Xbox boss Phil Spencer and reviewed by IGN. This is from IGN, I believe. A source told IGN that Candy Crush developer King was hit hard. But yeah, I forgot. They bought King, didn't they? Okay. But the layoffs affect other parts of the gaming business. IGN understands parts of Microsoft-owned Bethesda, including its London office, were also affected by the cuts. Rare's long in development Xbox game Everwild was canceled as part of the round of layoffs. The gaming layoffs come as part of an eye-watering round of cuts across Microsoft that amount to about 4%, or roughly 9,100 employees losing their jobs. Microsoft has over 228,000 employees worldwide. In the memo, Spencer failed to confirm specifics, telling staff any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. The following message from Phil Spencer was shared to all gaming staff today. I want to read this to you. Today, we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization to position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas. We will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. I recognize that these changes come at a time when we have more players, games, and gaming hours than ever before. Our platform, hardware, and game roadmap have never looked stronger. The success we're seeing currently is based on tough decisions we've made previously. We must make choices now for continued success in future years, and a key part of that strategy is the discipline to prioritize the strongest opportunities. We will protect what is thriving and concentrate effort on areas with the greatest potential while delivering on the expectations the company has for our business. This focused approach means we can deliver exceptional games and experiences for players for generations to come. Prioritizing opportunities is essential, but that does not lessen the significance of this moment. Simply put, we would not be where we are today without the time, energy, and creativity of those whose roles are impacted. These decisions are not a reflection of the talent, creativity, and dedication of the people involved. Our moment is not accidental. It is the result of years of dedicated effort from our teams. HR is working directly with impacted employees to provide severance plan benefits aligned with local laws, including pay, healthcare coverage, and job placement resources to support their transition. Employees whose roles were eliminated are encouraged to explore open positions across Microsoft Gaming, where their applications will be given priority review. Thank you to everyone who has shaped our culture, our products, and our community. We will move forward with deep appreciation and respect for all who have contributed to this journey. Phil.
I don't know if you'd brought up these, and I love these comments from Nile Object. No. He says, hashtag stop killing games, hashtag stop killing Xbox.
Okay, stop killing games is actually a movement, and I think we may touch on that next week. I know that Culture Casino was talking about it today. It's a movement saying that we're tired of all of this media getting destroyed. I
Yeah,
came along short of it. Physical media.
I'd say that's absolutely fair. I'm glad that there's people that have enough sense to say that instead of, oh, I gotta have it. Let me put down my $500 for something I won't be able to get for another several months.
Anyway.
That once I get it, I'm going to find out that I can play it once, and then, it gets bricked because I sneezed on it or looked at it wrong.
Okay, what is this new hell from Xbox? The new hell from Xbox this week is Xbox is firing a bunch of their employees. Over 9,000 of them. That's a lot.
It feels like a really healthy company, though.
This is what I don't understand, and maybe I'm not. Maybe I don't know the new speak, but Phil Spencer, he's saying, we're doing better than ever before, but we also have to fire 9,000 people. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, that's that's corporate speak is what that is. It's like everybody knows what this means, but we're going to tell you it doesn't mean that because hopefully you're the one shareholder that doesn't understand what's actually happening.
Anyway, so we're going to... And all the Xbox games canceled. I'll get into what's been canceled because there have been a lot of canceled projects too. I don't know. I feel like Microsoft buys up all these studios and they just start firing people. That's what it sounds like, but maybe that's just me. As they bought Activision, they bought Bethesda.
So there is something to be said for that too. When you buy up a company and you combine, right? You have overlap. So you do have to, trim the extra. That's part of an acquisition. But we're also talking about a company that is contracting.
Robert's Infinite Realms, what up, people of the Party Persuasion? Just discovered Stop Killing Games Today, needs more info. I think it's about time I started touching on it next week. There was a lot of stuff coming out about it today in Culture Casino, a friend of our channels. He's been talking about it as well. I think we'll touch on that next week. But this week we're talking about Microsoft getting rid of games that never even got a chance to come out. So Microsoft announced mass layoffs on July 2nd, impacting many areas of the company's sprawling business, including Xbox. Overall, Microsoft is said to be cutting 4% of its staff worldwide, affecting about 9,000 people. We already knew about this. Let's go down to the different studios. Raven Software. Raven Software, an esteemed Call of Duty development studio, is said to have been affected by the cut. Studio co-developed 2024's Black Ops 6 and returns to co-develop 2025 Black Ops 7. Raven is known for its work on Call of Duty Warzone. The exact nature of the cuts is unknown. Turn 10 Studios. Forza Motorsport developer Turn 10 Studios reportedly hit significantly by the Xbox cuts. A report said nearly 50% of the staff were let go, though it's not clear how many people this amounts to. The studio's last release was 2023's Forza Motorsport for the PC and Xbox Series X. I've heard people really like the Forza Motorsports game and that they get good reviews too, so I don't know why these people are getting cut. They seem to know what they're doing. Even if this was an example of maybe the Forza series isn't selling, you could just move them to other areas, right? Doesn't that make sense? You don't want to lose your talent.
Well, it's funny you say that because isn't this the way this industry has basically been going? They've been driving away their talent. I mean, let's be honest.
Rare and Everwild. British developer Rare was affected by the layoffs too, with the studio's upcoming game Everwild cancel. The game was announced in 2019 and had been in development for reportedly 10 years before this decision came down. None of the developers speaking to VGC said that Rare couldn't find the right direction for this project even after it was rebooted. 10 years? That's a long time to be working on something. So I'm not necessarily blaming Xbox.
So I don't know a lot about the way games are developed these days, but I do know that, yes, there is an amount of time from, planning to execution to release. I understand that. There's probably a reasonable development time. The problem is you're also talking about computer systems improving very rapidly. So by the time you have to, there has to be some sort of a balance between how long it takes to develop and how long before you have to go, you know what? This is all, we've developed something for an older generation of system and we're already obsolete now, and
That's
I'd
happened.
say 10 years has got to definitely fall into that, that sphere.
I remember Rare had developed games for the Nintendo 64 that they had to eventually port over to the, or at least one of the games they did was they ported over to the GameCube, which was Star Fox Adventures that started out as a Nintendo 64 game. A new MMORPG from the Elder Scrolls Online developer ZeniMax Online Studios, reportedly codenamed Blackbird, was said to have been canceled. Okay. It had been in development for some time since 2018. Longtime exec Matt Fior is also leaving the company. So I don't know. That sounds. I think there's bad management of a lot of these studios too, because I don't know why this stuff is taking so long. Perfect Dark and the Initiative, one of Microsoft's newest studios. The Initiative is closing up shop, and its first game, A New Perfect Dark, has been canceled. A report from May 2024 said the new Perfect Dark game was in quote-unquote rough shape. Well, that was because they got Crystal Dynamics to help them with it, and they gave Joanna Dark a lantern jaw, and it's Crystal Dynamics. I don't know why they're working the current holders of the Tomb Raider franchise. They stuck them on Perfect Dark. It is kind of sad, though, because I remember back in the old days when the Xbox came out, and the Xbox bought Rare. And Rare used to work for Nintendo, and then Microsoft kind of took them out from under Nintendo. And I'd even consider getting an Xbox because of this, I already had a GameCube, but I had said at the time, if I had known this, I might have gotten an Xbox, because I was a huge fan of Rare-made games. They made Donkey Kong Country, they made Perfect Dark, the GoldenEye 007 game. But the trouble is, when Microsoft bought them, they kind of didn't do much with Rare. And I think I read later on that the reason they bought Rare wasn't so they could have Rare games on the Xbox. It was so the Rare games couldn't show up on a Nintendo console anymore.
That's a bad reason to do something.
Which made me mad, actually.
If you buy up something that you see as competition, right? Yeah. It should be a 1-2 punch. You don't allow your competition to put it out. You put it out yourself and gain something from that. You know? Otherwise it's just half measures. You're literally leaving money on the table doing that. But you know what? If you are looking to make bad decisions and destroy your company and contract and have mass layoffs, by all means, leave money on the table. That seems like a brilliant strategy, yes.
I don't know what they're doing right now.
They don't know what they're doing, clearly.
Well, they just like to buy stuff up, but then they don't. Okay, Moon.
I mean, it's the same sort of brilliance that Iger brought to Disney.
Blizzard and Warcraft Rumble. Blizzard has announced that Warcraft Rumble support will not continue in its current form. While the systemic events and bug fixes will still be made, new content will be made. Aftermath reports that Blizzard employees will shift to different roles. Others will be like, oh, this must be some game they made. Warcraft Rumble? Does anybody know what that was? Is that like the
fact that you have to ask that means it probably wasn't all that good.
Is that like a live service game that was like Fortnite but with Warcraft?
Maybe.
And Halo Studios. The wide-ranging Xbox layoffs this week also affected Halo Studios, the development team formerly known as 343 Industries that is working on multiple upcoming Halo titles. Troy, if anything in games that don't have interaction with the environment, such as explosion, damaging buildings, tree, or the human body. But if it's I see. Okay, you're just explaining something.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. This one kind of came as kind of a shock to me. This was Romero Games employee says whole studio subject to layoffs after Microsoft pulls funding for new shooter. Romero Games, studio founded by Doom co-creator John Romero and Brenda Romero, has said it has been left heartbroken after discovering that funding for its next project has been pulled, reportedly as part of Microsoft's latest cuts, leaving the game and its team at risk. Now, John Romero, he was the co-creator of Doom. You've heard of that game, right?
Yes, I know that game very well now. Thank you very much, by the way, for the gift.
Oh, the Doom 64. It was on sale.
Yeah.
It was cheap.
Yeah.
Doom 64 was actually not made by John Romero, but it was made by a team at Midway Games that had their Doom license for home consoles, and they made an exclusive Doom game. It's now since been canonized and made part of the main Doom series because it was considered that good that it needed to be preserved.
Yeah,
it's a really good addition to the game. More puzzle based, I think, than shooting things. Though there's still plenty of shooting at creatures, but I think there's puzzles you solve in it too. was made for the Nintendo 64 back in the day. It was one of the selling points. You'll get an exclusive Doom game just for Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64, underneath it was written the Fun Machine. Nintendo Switch 2 should have the Unfun Machine written on
Oh God!
I'm sorry.
You're not wrong.
I'm sorry. Maybe it'll get better over time. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, when you go and you find that milk is all chunky and, it smells bad, just put it back in the fridge. Maybe it'll be better tomorrow.
All right, but I'm kind of horrified though that they gutted this studio, and this is John Romero. He's a legend in the games industry. I mean, I think in the first video game Hall of Fame nominations, and Doom was on there next to Super Mario Brothers and Tetris. I was actually rooting for Doom,
Yeah.
and that shows how high I considered the original Doom compared to a lot of other video games. And it just, I don't know. This was a strategic decision that has been made at a high level within the publisher, well above our visibility control, Romero said. We deeply wish there had been anything we could have done to prevent this outcome. I think he was shocked by this, actually.
Yeah.
Romero suggested that the publisher's decision has come as a surprise as Romero games hit every milestone on time, every time consistent receiving high praise, and easily passed all of our internal gates. So he's basically saying, look, we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. I think because some of these other studios, I'll admit, some of these projects they canceled, I kind of get because they were probably turning out to be miniature disasters, more Redfall. So I don't mind that. But it sounds like Romero and his staff were on point to make a pretty cool first-person shooter, and I don't think it's going to happen now. Romero suggests the publisher's decision has come as a surprise okay, let me see. From now, Romero Games says is currently evaluating next steps and working quickly to support our team and asks for anyone with any opportunities or ways you can help our incredible team to please reach out. It'd be funny if PlayStation reached out. Right?
Yeah.
That might be kind of funny. PlayStation, if you're listening, you might want to consider helping, especially since Microsoft bought id Games,
I feel though, like with all of these layoffs and stuff, I'm sure that the company is very sympathetic to the people that are being laid off. Probably trying to help them find alternate employment, aren't they?
Yeah. So, let's go on. Xbox producer criticized for suggesting laid off developers use AI for career planning and emotional clarity. What was this? This is like something out of Logan's Run or something. This is or like
this is up there with Learn to Code. It's
but this is like we're living in a dystopia right now.
Yes, we are.
That's the thing. Okay. Now deleted posts attracted criticism for the games industry. A producer at Xbox Game Studio has been criticized for suggesting that those affected by Microsoft's sweeping layoffs this week turn to AI to deal with their job losses. Matt Turnbull, an executive producer on Xbox games like Crackdown 3, State of Decay 2, and Forza Motorsport, posted the comment on LinkedIn following news of Microsoft's huge round of layoffs, which have seen multiple projects canceled this week and potentially thousands laid off. Although he has since deleted the post, it has been archived on social media because the internet's forever.
Of course it has.
These are really challenging. This is what he said. These are really challenging times, and if you're navigating a layoff or even quietly preparing for one, you're not alone, and you don't have to go it alone, Turnbull wrote. I know these types of tools engender strong feelings in its people, but I'd be remiss in not trying to offer the best advice I can under the circumstances. I've been experimenting with ways to use LLM AI tools like ChatGPT or Copilot to help reduce the emotional and cognitive load that sometimes comes with job loss. The producer went on to suggest some prompt ideas that he said might help if you're feeling overwhelmed, including career planning, networking and outreach, and emotional clarity and confidence. One suggested prompt reads, I'm struggling with imposter syndrome after being laid off. Can you help me reframe this experience in a way that reminds me what I'm good at? Turnbull said, no AI tool is a replacement for your voice or your lived experience, but at a time when mental energy is scarce, these tools can help you help get you unstuck faster, calmer, with more clarity. Unsurprisingly, the post was met with significant amount of criticism.
You think?
Especially because, according to media reports, Microsoft's latest layoffs are influenced, at least in part, by a significant cost of its investment into AI. Eric Smith, a ZeniMax online producer affected by this week's layoffs, replied, well, I won't read that part, but read the room.
That is incredibly tone deaf. That is the most ridiculous thing. No, that takes a level of stupid I just can't imagine ever being capable of.
This is like something out of a dystopia movie. Game
Yeah,
designer Paul Murphy wrote, "I'm sure you're trying to help, but WTF? You hired these folks once. At least give them the respect they've earned and assume they have the ability to write their own resumes." Oh, that's not
right.
good. Microsoft announced. Okay, yeah. So, would you say this was tone deaf?
Yes, I would say that's a huge understatement. Yes, it's very, very tone deaf.
Jessica Hardo says, Troy, I heard the next Xbox console is going to be data only, no disk drive. Could some of the 9,000 workers come from physical media department, Microsoft? It's possible. I mean, I've heard other
I would
things.
suggest that really the consumers really need to take a stand here, and you can't accept this. If you do, you are part of the problem. If you continue to patronize companies that treat people this way, you're creating the world that science fiction has warned us about for a very, very long time.
Yeah,
Just there's really no other way of saying it.
I stole that from our AI stream. Remember, we did the
Oh
AI.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't find a good picture of this guy, so I didn't want to post someone else's picture by accident because I was between two people, and I'm like, I don't know if this is the guy or this is. I don't want to. I don't want to have people, doing making a prank call to the wrong person's house. That's why I didn't put this picture.
Ah, yeah, I see what you.
Okay,
You shouldn't
but
be doing that at anyone at all anyway. Just saying.
yes, I
But
know. All right, so moving on to. Now we're moving away from Microsoft Xbox onto Nintendo, Troy's favorite.
yeah,
If you this is from Canada, so this isn't in the United States yet, but I'm wondering if we're going to hear something similar for the United States. So let's say you don't want to get a Switch 2 right now, but you don't have a Switch 1. Well, apparently the Switch 1 price is going up. Nintendo is looking to increase prices on the original Nintendo Switch family of systems, along with Nintendo products and services like Nintendo Switch Online, due to incoming tariffs in Canada. The Kyoto-based company said on its official site that they will have to more to share regarding pricing for its system for Canada on the 1st of August. Pricing for the original Nintendo Switch family of systems and products in Canada will change based on market conditions. These include Nintendo Switch OLED model, Nintendo Switch Lite, physical and digital Nintendo Switch games, and Nintendo Switch accessories. Why are the digital games going up?
exactly. Yeah. There's no material cost. Why are they not passing along some of those, in quotes, savings
Uh,
to the consumer?
other
That
people have
should
also
tell you something about their business model as well.
argued that you know usually when the new console comes out, the company would offer the old console at a discount. You know,
Right,
because
right.
it's now
That
the old
that
console.
actually
We'll
makes sense.
take
Yeah.
money off of it. Now they're talking about raising it. I don't know. It may as well have been the Terminator. Oh, that picture I was showing. Yeah, you know what's funny?
Yeah.
I'd heard a rumor though that part of these layoffs come from the fact that Microsoft wants to. This might just be a rumor that they're trying to invest heavily in AI. That they're wanting to pump more money into that, and they're trying to get the money from somewhere. But I could be wrong.
Well, that sounds about right.
It takes money to run servers and maintenance. Yes, that's true, but I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure they're really struggling. They're really struggling with their money to keep their servers up.
Well, here's the funny
The
thing.
servers that you shouldn't need if you have physical media. Just saying.
Nintendo back in the day, and I'm not lying here. People are going to say, "Oh, you're full of it. They never used to do this." Yes, they did. They used to have a discount line. It used to be called Player's Choice, and on the Super Nintendo, games that came out as $49.99 when they became million sellers, they would get re-released as $19.99 games. And same went for the GameCube. For Nintendo 64, they were a little more money. I think they were $39.99 but they would still get a reduction in price. And this even happened with the Nintendo Wii. I think they were called Nintendo Selects, and they were reduced price. I think to like $20. I think. And same goes for the DS. The DS games would come out at like $19.99. 3DS games. So they used to do this. They used to re-release older titles at a discounted price, and they have not done that this generation. and I doubt they'll be doing it with the Switch too. Brazil is not happy. I have two stories for this.
This
Okay.
I find very, very interesting. Yes.
Brazilian agency formally notifies Nintendo over console breaking EU LA clause. Nintendo's end user license agreement tied to the Nintendo Switch 2 consoles have reportedly been deemed abusive by a Brazilian consumer protection agency over the company's ability to permanently disable the Switch 2 units of users who Nintendo has found to have violated the contract. The agency has reportedly put the company on official notice over its Nintendo Switch 2 policies, which it claims violate Brazilian consumer protection laws. Following the console's worldwide launch on June 5th, sales of Nintendo Switch 2 broke historic records, nearly tripling the day one sales of PlayStation 4 units set in 2013. According to insider estimates, exact sales figures related specifically to Brazil are unclear, but demand has obviously been high as available units sold out 2 days ahead of the console's launch, as reported by Nintendo Soup. An unfortunate Switch 2 owner warns the company that getting a console permanent ban from Nintendo can have irrevocable consequences. While the popularity of the Nintendo Switch 2 is evident in Brazil, some of the provisions of its end-user license agreement have reportedly caused the attention of Procon SB, the Sao Paulo-based branch of Brazil's Consumer Protection and Defense Program. As pointed out by Technoblog, Nintendo maintaining the ability to terminate user accounts and to render its consoles permanently inoperable without giving a valid reason is a violation of the nation's Consumer Protection Code section, which under
it actually seems pretty reasonable to me.
Seeks to meet consumer demands to respect their dignity, health, and safety, to protect their economic interests, to improve their quality of life, and to ensure transparency and harmony in consumer relations. I am wondering what's been going on in the European Union with the Switch 2, because I had read somewhere that they were not getting bricked as often as they are in North America, because I think Nintendo is aware that the EU will probably throw something at them if they're too harsh.
Yeah. And again, I think this is where the consumer has to stand up and say, no. And I'd be interested to see if there's any consumer agencies trying to take action here in the States. They should be.
Well, I think we're always last to do this sort of thing, unfortunately. CluuStudio said the NES went from $99.95 to $49.95 after the SNES was hot. Yeah, the NES Model 2 came out at $49.95. And I remember the Super Nintendo 2 came out later when the Nintendo 64 launched. They released a newer model of that was cheaper. And I think Sony did something similar with the PlayStation 2. They had a PlayStation 2 Slim model come out that was cheaper. But yeah. Breaching privacy. Yeah, I think so. But let's move on to this one. I thought was kind of funny because this, and I am blaming this more. Well, it's partly to blame for Nintendo, but also the developer of this game. Thanks to the added horsepower of the Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo fans can finally play a WWE video game the way it was meant to be played. Because unfortunately, Nintendo Switch was rather underpowered compared to the other consoles. However, there is one aspect of WWE's 2K25's impending Switch 2 release that fans might be less thrilled about. As pointed out by Wario64 on Twitter, the physical version of WWE 2K25 will still require an internet connection to download, as the game case only contains an online code.
Which is just mind-boggling. Why even bother? Why create a box and all the plastic and paper and everything just to have a code inside?
Yeah, why not just be able to go online, buy the thing, and you get your
because
code?
They want you to believe you're actually getting something physical. It's I see it as a kind of bait and switch.
Okay, so here it goes on to say, oddly enough, the text shown during the WWE 2K25 trailer claims that a game key card might be required. Now, as you know, a game key card is it's not a cartridge you get on the Nintendo Switch. It looks like a cartridge, and it downloads the game from the internet. There's no actual game on the game key card. Right. But I have a dream, and I don't think that's what this is. I think this is just a code in the box on a game key card. But can you imagine a day where you get a game key card that's required for you to play, but it also comes with a code in the box? So you would need the code in the box to to download the game, but the game key card to play it. So you don't really own a digital copy either.
Wow.
I
Oh
don't
my
think we're
gosh.
there yet,
Wow.
but I'm Nintendo. I'm throwing that at you. You can do that next generation.
Holy
Just
cow,
just put
man.
as many impediments to owning the stinking games. And what else? We got Xbox with their Game Pass insistence over and over again. They don't want us owning. That's why we'll talk about the that movement about keeping the games physical next week.
Yep.
This has sparked. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. This has sparked a debate among gamers and the industry insiders alike over the future of physical media and game preservation. The release of physical game box without a copy of the game in question is a choice that leaves many scratching their heads. So yeah, and like I said, there's a stop killing games. We're going to talk about that movement next week. I think it's time we gave them our attention.
Yep.
And one more story for the night. Anyway, I'm sorry. This is some Nintendo Switch 2 owners are reporting overheating problems. It's no secret that Nintendo has been the
I
center.
like that picture you chose for
I'm
this.
sorry. It's
No, that's funny.
It's no secret that Nintendo has been the center of controversy since the announcement of $80 game prices, along with recent findings around its Nintendo Switch 2 display and ghosting issues. However, the handheld's problems seemingly don't stop there. As highlighted by Notebook Check, multiple users are reporting overheating issues with the Nintendo Switch 2, even while playing less demanding games. Notably, most reports suggesting overheating occurs when using the Switch 2's docks, a vital component that allows users to play on external displays and provides more power for improved performance. A plethora of Redditors have voiced frustrations with the Switch 2 dock's lack of ventilation, despite featuring a built-in fan. The latter isn't designed to cool the Switch 2, but rather the dock. Others also point to the higher temperatures while using the Ethernet ports, to the point where the handheld and accessory are too hot to touch, and the display output ends despite the console still running. Nintendo suggests setting the console aside to cool down and ensuring that the handheld air vents aren't obstructed. But frankly, that's hardly much of a solution to eliminate the supposed overheating.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the
That's like going into the doctor and saying, "Doctor, it hurts when I do this." Well, don't do that.
Yes. It's not just the dock alone. Users are also reporting that the device displays a warning message before entering sleep mode when undocked. This appears to be the system's way of throttling, but instead of that, it makes it not playable while resting. This is a worrying sign for Switch 2 owners. If the issues become more prevalent, it would be most certainly supersede the concerns about display quality. Yeah, so I think they rushed this thing out the door. I know, Reddit, yes. That's why I'm sticking with my PS4. You know what the funny thing is? The PlayStation 4 is still supported. I mean, granted, it's not going to get games like Black Myth Wukong, but like that Turtles Splintered Fate game getting a physical copy release on PlayStation 4. You can still get games on PlayStation 4. Talk about a squandered. Okay, so let's see. Now, moving on to. I couldn't. I didn't have a good picture, so I used this. I guess I should have gotten the Nintendo president. But Nintendo president says fans who can afford Nintendo Switch 2 should engage with Nintendo characters elsewhere. I made a joke by putting the 2600 Mario Brothers cartridge up here.
It's yeah. I mean, let's insult our customers as much as we possibly can, and make sure they never want to do business with us ever again.
Here's some were arguing that it probably wasn't meant to come off as insulting, but it came off as insulting anyway. This is the Nintendo president.
I'll tell you what, I would have more respect if that's what they intended. If you said that and didn't hear in your head how bad that sounded, you're just a moron.
The Nintendo Switch 2 had been lambasted for its higher than usual price for a Nintendo console, alongside the price of its first-party software. Despite this new console is matching the company's prediction of being the biggest console launch of all time, and Nintendo isn't backing down for its pricing decisions. I would like to remind Nintendo that the Nintendo 64 had a huge launch, but it didn't do that well overall that generation.
Yeah.
Because it didn't get third-party support for starters. But it was the must-have toy that holiday season, though, when it came out. In a recent investors call, Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa explained that the company believes the pricing of Nintendo Switch 2 is appropriate for the gaming experience it offers. The president of the Japanese console giant explained that the company has incorporated various features into Nintendo Switch 2 to offset the eye-watering price. However, the company hopes that those who can't afford the new console will still be able to engage with Nintendo's characters in other forms. It is true that Nintendo Switch 2 has a higher price point than our past gaming systems. The Nintendo boss confirmed we are creating various opportunities outside of our gaming systems for young children to engage with Nintendo characters and game worlds, with one of the ultimate goals being that they will eventually play our gamings on our gaming systems. We are closely monitoring to what degree the price of the system might become a barrier. It's too much money. Nintendo
Yeah.
has been moving toward more multimedia projects in recent years, including the extremely popular Super Mario Bros. Movie. Not only is it a sequel for the popular film currently in the works, but a Legend of Zelda movie is also in active development. Additionally, the Nintendo brand has expanded into massively successful theme parks with 3 locations at Universal Studios Japan, Universal Studios Hollywood, and Universal Epic Universe. A new Super Nintendo World location is opening in Singapore. So I guess he's saying you can get a Mario toy and play with that if you can't afford the game console.
Yeah, that's going to be, so much more fun than the game, right? You can play the game in your mind. You can pretend, You can't afford that action figure. You could always use a pen top.
So here's what bothers me about all this. In the olden days, Nintendo would have their consoles, and their consoles and the games for the consoles were more money, but then they'd also have a portable line. They'd have the Game Boy, and you could buy a Game Boy for $100. In fact, I don't know I don't think the original Game Boy might have only been $80 if I'm remembering correctly, but I could be wrong. And the games for it cost $20 a pop. And granted, they did raise the price on those over time to, $29.99. I think even certain 3DS games, but they used to have a portable line of systems as well as their main console. So if you can't get your kid the big Nintendo console, you still get them a portable, and they can enjoy Nintendo games that way.
Right.
But now they're all in on this console portable hybrid, and now they're charging more for it than they have for anything else. I mean, part of me wonders what the point of them even making the Nintendo Switch to a portable is, because you're never going to want to leave the house with that thing because it's so much money.
Right.
SNES was the best. SNES is one of my favorite Nintendo consoles. I still like the GameCube a little more, but SNES was a great Nintendo console. SNES plus Blockbuster stores equals best gaming era. And don't forget about the Sega Genesis. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I found this to be a little tone deaf. I don't know what's going on there. They've gotten too big for their britches, and this happens with game companies. In that thing I sent you, Sony had gotten very big for their britches with the PlayStation 2, and then they released the PlayStation 3, and that was prohibitively expensive, and people said no, and they went out and bought the competition.
Yeah.
And then Sony got, they had to create a new model, make it cheaper, and they did that. And they also made a point that Sony will take its first-party games and they will reduce the price of them after time, whereas Nintendo got in this habit of not wanting to reduce the price on their software. This wasn't the case in the Super Nintendo era, but it was the case later on. So let's move on to something that we actually can feel happy about if you live in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
David Lynch. We have a David Lynch section now on the stream.
Yes, we do.
New York City audiences will finally see Twin Peaks Season 3 the way Lynch intended. I'm very curious about this because I always had a theory about Twin Peaks The Return, knowing what I knew about Lynch. So
yeah,
it's one of the most truly singular, transcendent masterpieces of moving image art made in the century. And this weekend, New York City audiences will have the rare opportunity to see all 18 parts of David Lynch's Twin Peaks The Return on the big screen as part of Mubi and Metrograph's 2-day marathon. Making the pilgrimage to New York is Dean Hurley, who was the re-recording mixer, supervising senator, and sound and music supervisor for Twin Peaks The Return. Appearing on the Filmmaker Toolkit podcast to discuss Lynch's use of sound and creative process, Hurley told IndieWire the marathon was more than an opportunity to see the series on a big screen. The Metrograph audience will be able to be the first to see the full version of the series the way Lynch intended. It get back to the whole, you may think you've seen the film, but you haven't, said Hurley, paraphrasing Lynch's iPhone rant that became an internet meme. You've probably seen that iPhone rant.
Yeah.
These are the theatrical mixes, and the one thing that I'm really excited about is this is the intention. This is how David mixed them, and this is how he experienced them. Beyond his official titles, Hurley played a larger role in Lynch's creative life. The filmmaker hired Hurley in 2005 as engineer in his recording studio, a converted Hollywood Hills home he used as a lost highway location. Hurley would become Lynch's jack of all trades, sound guy who did everything from recording, mixing, session playing to post supervision and procuring instruments. Lynch preferred a do-it-yourself approach, working in the insular bubble of his studio. For Lynch, who took the sound designer credit on his films and Twin Peaks: The Return, it is impossible to underestimate the importance sound played in all of his art. Sound was often the spark of emotional inspiration, and his Hollywood Hills asymmetrical studio was a creative space where he spent a large portion of his waking hours. This is interesting. Lynch and Hurley recorded sounds used in The Return a decade before the scripts were completed. For example, Lynch had a library of recordings of Electricity, which became a thorough line across 3 seasons of Twin Peaks.
Yep.
So I have a question. I assume they're going to be doing a marathon and showing this whole thing back to back.
Yes, but again, re-edited.
My theory is that the music interludes at the end of each episode were like chapter stops. And you could either eliminate those or just have them play through without the credits and then just go to the very next scene, right? And then keep going to the next scene.
And that's the way they worked on the Blu-ray, and it actually caused some confusion as I was trying to assemble them for viewing as we were doing our watch-throughs on live.
Really? It just goes straight through?
Yeah. So without getting too into the weeds on this, I take the Blu-ray or the DVD or whatever I'm using, and I rip it to an MP4 so that I can put it on a different computer to stream it, because I can't stream and do the movie because otherwise you get bleed over sound, and it's a real problem. But when I would do that, it would create this effect where I would get like a double episode without the music, and it's like no. So I had to personally remix it myself, which was kind of a challenge. But anyway, be that as it may, yeah, I got the distinct impression that there was something like that going on here, and I agree with you. I want to see how David had intended it to be done. Again, it sounds like he was fighting with the studios every step of the way, and that's like the history of all of his projects, which is incredibly frustrating.
Well, that's Lynch for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And some other Lynch news. Iconic David Lynch psychological mystery named Best Thriller of the 21st Century. The New York Times has polled a number of cinematic luminaries to determine the 100 best films of the 21st century, and the list's top thriller is Mulholland Drive, the late David Lynch's surreal neo-noir mystery. At number 2, only behind Bong Joon-ho's Oscar-winning Parasite, Mulholland Drive is also the top English-language film on the list, although the film underwent a torturous process to get from page to screen and wasn't a box office smash. It is considered to be one of Lynch's masterpieces. Mulholland Drive's production was an unusual one, even by standards of David Lynch. The project was originally intended to be a TV series for ABC with an open-ended central mystery, much like Lynch's earlier TV project, Twin Peaks. However, ABC executives were dissatisfied with Lynch's cut and canceled the project in 1999. Lynch then took it to Studio Canal, who financed Lynch to restructure the footage into a feature film with a considerably more obscure resolution to its process. It subsequently premiered at Cannes in 2001 to rapturous acclaim and is frequently considered the greatest film of Lynch's career. Collider Thomas Butt considers it a sacred text for those aspiring to use art as a device to solve the cryptic nature of the world.
Interesting perspective. I agree with all that. I'd like to know where some of these people were a lot sooner. It did take them a while to come around to that way of thinking, but I'm not gonna beat them up too much.
Well, it's like when a writer dies or a painter dies, and now their work is becoming even more appreciated. Do you understand? That's sort of what.
And it shouldn't be that way. You should be appreciating it in real time. You're a little slow if you're just figuring it out. Is all I'm saying.
For me, the warehouse or Blockbuster, occasional mom and pop. Oh, for videos and games? Yeah, for rentals, yeah. Of course, back then you would rent something, you'd have something physical. 60 minutes.
Good point. Yeah, this is actually kind of big. I'm surprised it's not getting more press. This is going to be kind of heavy hitting in terms of what happens to the Paramount CBS merger going forward. Let's get into it.
U.S. media company Paramount Global has agreed to pay $16 million to settle a legal dispute with U.S. President Donald Trump regarding an interview broadcast on CBS with former Vice President Kamala Harris. Trump filed a lawsuit last October alleging the network had deceptively edited an interview that aired on its 60 Minutes news program with his presidential election rival Kamala Harris to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party. Paramount said it would pay to settle the suit, but with the money allocated to Trump's future presidential library not paid to him directly or indirectly. A spokesperson for Trump's legal team swiftly hailed the settlement as a win for the American people over the fake news media. CBS and Paramount Global realized the strength of the historic case and had no choice but to settle. The spokesperson added President Trump will always ensure that no one gets away with lying to the American people. CBS, which is owned by Paramount, previously said the case was completely without merit and had asked the judge to dismiss it. It stressed the broadcast was not doctored or deceitful. The settlement marks the latest concession by a U.S. media company to a president who has targeted outlets over what he describes as false and misleading coverage. According to the lawsuit filed in federal court in Texas, CBS aired two versions of the Harris interview in which she appeared to give different answers to the same question about the Israel-Gaza war.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's almost laughable. It is laughable to hear them say, "Oh no, nothing was edited." Oh really? You have transmitted the proof. Do you wanna fight that out in court? Because you will look very, very foolish if you do.
Settled ahead of planned merger, according to both the Wall Street Journal and New York Times. The settlement was agreed with the help of mediator so as not to affect Paramount's planned merger with Skydance Media, which the Federal Communications Commissions have been reviewing, and therefore Trump technically has the power to halt. During the month-long settlement talks, some CBS News execs, including Chief Executive Wendy McMahon, have left their roles due to their unwillingness to issue an apology to Trump. There were also reportedly concerns over whether paying to settle the lawsuit could be viewed as bribing a public official. The Paramount settlement... What?
What?
That last line. There were also reportedly concerns over whether paying to settle the lawsuit could be viewed as bribing a public official. Oh, they can't settle because
that is literally hysterical. I would love to see them try to make that argument in court. Because that's the only way you can justify it.
Whose concerns were these? That's a bunch of nonsense. Okay,
people that do not want this merger to happen.
Paramount settled followed a decision by the Walt Disney on ABC News to settle a defamation case brought by Trump. So Disney settled. That's interesting, whereas they were holding out.
They realize they don't have a choice. There are people at the top that are going, no, we don't want to, but there really is no other move for us to make. And so they do what they have to do, and people get upset about it.
60 Minutes has been a non-news entity ever since they shoved Dr. Jeffrey Wiggin under the bus. See, The Insider might make a good Monday night movie. Oh, okay. 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes with the equivalent of kids saying, "No, mommy, I didn't eat the cookies," with their hands still in the jar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. It really, really is.
All right, moving on to Megan 2.0.
This article, just the way it's framed, I laughed.
Blumhouse boss gets candid on disastrous Megan 2.0 box office. Blumhouse boss Jason Blum has opened up on the disastrous launch of Megan 2.0, admitting to a number of failings. Megan 2.0 saw $10.2 million domestically and just $6.958 million internationally during its launch week, which suggests the first Megan movie released in December 2022 may have been lightning in a bottle moment with its eventual $180 million global haul. IGN's Megan 2.0 review returns. We said Megan 2.0 hot swaps horror for sci-fi action to mixed results. But Megan's absolutely heinous wit and killer moves leave her and not the new genre as the star of the show. But why did Megan 2.0 flop so hard? CEO Blumhouse Production Jason Blum appeared on the latest episode of The Town with Matthew Bologna podcast to reveal his early thoughts. I've been In pain all weekend long, and I've been thinking about all this stuff way too much. Bloom began in the 20-minute chat. If Bloomhouse is in a slump, I'd like to tell that story. I don't want other people telling the story. Bloomhouse revealed that 10 weeks before launching Megan 2.0 was tracking to open to 45 million. We were seriously talking about how amazing it would be for the little movie Megan to outgross F1. But those predictions went downhill fast. With 8 weeks to go, it was 40. At 6 weeks, it was 35, and 4 weeks, 30. The first movie did 32 million. Bloom said. We had it in. We thought we'd do maybe 20% less than the first movie, so 30 was good. International, same thing. He continued 5 days before opening. It goes from 30 to 20. That's Monday. So then I was upset. Thursday, we were really at 20, maybe 19, and I was in a death spiral of depression. Wake up Monday morning, and it's 10. This is where Bloom got into the weeds on Megan 2.0's opening weekend. We thought Megan was like Superman, he said. We could do anything to her. We could change genres. We could put her into summer. We could make her look different. We could turn her from a bad guy into a good guy. We classically overthought how powerful people's engagement was really with her. We decided the genre swap. The audience was not ready to genre swap. People wanted more Megan just like she is. The references to Megan 2.0 being less of a thriller horror like the first film, more of an action comedy. Clearly, this didn't work. The second thing, we thought she could live in the summer. Bloom continued. We thought we were going from a little horror movie to a tentpole. Again, this release window didn't work. So I wanted to say this. I mean, this was a horror movie based on fears of artificial intelligence, right?
Right.
The original
Right.
Megan.
Exactly.
Where you have this doll with the AI. And when I saw the bad CGI flying scene in the trailer, I thought they made an asylum film. That's where she's like the flying squirrel coming in to save the day. So what happens now? Bloom says he's not suffering an existential crisis about Blumhouse or the movie business, but confirmed the company is taking a look at its slate and expressed a belief that there's too much horror doing the rounds at the moment.
God, this is always the freaking excuse. We're oversaturated. That's why people aren't interested. It's never we screwed up. We don't understand our own property. We don't understand the market. It's never their fault.
Well, it's like you have 28 years later. That's out. I think the Final Destination movie's still playing. They must have had legs. And we have I still remember what you did last summer sequel thing coming out.
I still remember what you did the summer before the last summer, before the summer that we talked about the last summer.
Yes, they should just do it as a comedy. I'd imagine one of the scary movies must have lampooned
you could. At this point, that one you absolutely could. Yes.
You did things during the summer, and I know about them.
Yeah, and I've known about them for years.
Yeah, and isn't the slasher the Gordon's Fisherman? Doesn't he look like that?
I don't remember.
I remember him like looking like the Gordon's Fisherman with the yellow.
Trust the Gordon's Fisherman.
Yeah, he's murdering. Yeah, basically, yeah. So what happens now? Bloom said we're used to can absorb singles and doubles. I think that's gone. It might come back. Who knows? But for right now, I don't think the market can absorb much more than there is for sure.
Yeah, it's all the. It has nothing to do with poor planning. That's not it. That couldn't possibly be it.
I mean, on one hand, I like Jason Blum because he's one of the few people in Hollywood who understands that you make things on a budget. Though I think he overspent on Megan 2.0. But most of the Blumhouse movies, whether they're good or bad, they at least are under budget. So if they lose, they're not going to be a disaster. I mean, I watched the Black Phone movie, and I actually rather enjoyed it, which was a Blumhouse production. So okay. But at the same time, you can cover your ears. I'm not existential about it yet, but at the same time, you can't cover your ears. You have to say, I think we should look at the slate. I think we're going to look at the slate. Did we make too many movies this year? And are all our movies theatrical events? And that's a different filler than we used a year ago if we keep using the same filter. Okay. That it would be an existential crisis because I think we'd be out of business. Oh, my word. This guy's a character.
Yes, he is.
Okay. Anyone see Megan 2.0?
I have not, and I don't really intend to. Now, I still haven't seen Megan 1, although I do want to. I do still want to see the first Megan movie.
The guy that owns Chucky said, "Hey, they want to do a versus. I'm up for it." That's what he said. Okay.
Unfortunately, I think this pretty much ensures that's not going to happen,
They could
and
have
that's
done.
a shame because it would have been a great idea.
I mean, like I said, Megan is like the new version of Chucky, where it's of course a AI instead of it being a serial
Right,
killer possessing the body of a doll. Yeah, but anyway.
right.
All right, moving on to St. Elmo's fire in the
Actually,
news. Okay.
wait, before you go on, one last thing I want to say about Megan. What would be funny though, I can already see it. You put Chucky in with Megan, and he's got to have some kind of a line about, "Oh, great! Now even a possessed serial killer doll is being replaced with AI."
Yeah, that they would have that in there. He would have
They absolutely would, and it would be brilliant. It would absolutely be brilliant.
I'm the original old school. You're just the newest trend. That's what he would say to her.
Right, exactly.
Uh, St. Elmo's fire.
Yeah, we just watched this on last Monday for Members Night at the Movie. This was a 1985 film, and as I was putting that together, getting the stream ready for the members, I happened upon this article, and I'm like, holy crap, that's like this week. This is like super current.
I think because it's on its 40th anniversary. I think for whatever reason everybody's thinking about 1985 right now. I think
Maybe, yeah.
maybe we're all tuned into the same part of the collective unconscious or whatever you call it or something.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Don't ever let the fire go out. Rob Lowe has provided a surprising update about a St. Elmo's Fire sequel nearly 40 years after the original movie premiered in June 1985. We're working on the script and it's really getting good, Lowe 61 told People in an interview published Sunday, June 29th. I think it's super valid to revisit those characters that continue to mean a lot to people and watch them navigate this chapter in life, he continued, because arguably this chapter of life is every bit as interesting and fraught as what do I do when I get out of college. The
True.
original film, which was released on June 28th, 1985, directed by Joel Schumacher,
Yep.
of Batman Forever fame, followed a
Oh,
group of recent
among other things, yes.
Georgetown University graduates as they navigated life after college in their early 20s. Besides Lowe, who starred as Billy Hicks, the Brat Pack classic also features Emilio Estevez, Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Andy McDowell, and Ali Sheedy.
Right.
Interest in St. Elmo's Fire sequel reportedly started last year after McCarthy released his documentary Brats, which saw several of the 80s stars reunite to discuss their experiences as members of the so-called Brat Pack. Lowe said the documentary only added to the excitement around a St. Elmo's Fire sequel, and he later claimed that this was in the very early stages, although he couldn't make any promises about whether it would pan out. We've met with the studio, and I've been talking about doing it for 4 months, he told Entertainment Tonight last year. But it's very early stages, so we'll see. Then earlier this year, the West Wing alum suggested that a St. Elmo's Fire sequel was potentially in development at Sony Pictures. We're putting together a St. Elmo's Fire 2, so we're working together. We're going to see what those people are doing at our age now. This is a real thing, Lowe said during Jimmy Kimmel Live in February. I know it's great. It sounds like it could be a bit, but you also go, wait a minute. I'd see that, he continues at the time. When we did the original, we were on the cover of Rolling Stone. Now we'll be on the cover of ARP.
Oh,
But
God.
it's still going to be
That
great.
is funny. That is funny.
He also claimed that everybody from the original film was on board during an episode of Literally with Rob Lowe, so everyone would come back. That's cool. The script has to come in, and we all have to like it, but everybody wants to do it, Lowe said. Everybody on board. However, others have to cast doubt on a St. Elmo's Fire sequel. Producer Adam Fields, who worked on other Brat Pack films, flicks like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club, questioned how Lowe and the others would go about making a sequel more than 4 decades after the original. I haven't read the script and I don't know what their approach is, Fields told the Post in February. I mean, I feel like most of these movies were a moment in time and they reflected a moment in time, so I don't know how they're going to do anything, he added. You know what?
Yeah.
I think this should happen. What do you think?
I agree. I think it definitely has potential. This is, again, one of those kinds of things where somebody has an idea for a story, and it is predicated on a previous story. This is not necessarily a bad thing. And we do live in this era of wanting to do, franchise and franchise and franchise. I don't see this as the same thing. I see this as we like these characters. We were saying this literally last week as we were watching it. You come to care about these characters, you laugh at them a little bit. They're making a lot of really bad choices, and you're left wondering, where are their lives heading after this? And you may have your ideas and whatnot. Let's see what they come up with. I think the questions, there are questions that people want answered, and I'd kind of like to see this. It could be lame, but it could be pretty cool too.
I think someone's going to hand Rob Lowe the saxophone. He's going to throw it over his shoulder and drink some blue milk.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I see exactly what you're doing there.
So bad. I know. I'm sorry. All right. I don't know. I think it could work. I mean, the thing with stuff like this, when they say, can you do things 40 years later? I take sequels like this as what ifs. Like, I'm a big fan of the television series Ash versus the Evil Dead. But I kind of look at that show as like a what if show, a what if sequel to the original Evil Dead trilogy. And I think it's great. So it wouldn't be terrible if I do consider that canon. But I also say, this is a what if. That's how I see it. And as long as it's good, I don't care. It's like the sequels to Psycho 2 and Psycho 3. I like those also. But are they really what happened to Norman Bates? Well, maybe yes, maybe not. But I still enjoy
Well, and in this case, it's like I said, we were left asking that question, what happened to these characters after this? And they're going, hey, we'll let you know.
So we'll find out.
Yeah.
Shatner.
Yeah, this guy, I'll tell you, he's a lot of fun.
We don't endorse.
How old is he now? He's in his 90s or something like that. And he looks good for 70. What the hell is he? Is he doing some sort of rituals or something like that, or does he have some pharmaceutical he's got access to, or something?
Was The Devil's Reign not a documentary? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
He was in The Devil's Reign. That was William Shatner versus Satan. That was awesome, and Satan was Ernest Borgnine.
Of course he was.
Anyway, what was I going to say, though? No, I told you, I saw Shatner live on stage, and he told the audience, like, one of the audience questions was, how do you stay so fit and good for in your 90s? And he turns and says, I'm in pain all the time. That's what he said. Oh, he was funny. He was funny. Anyway, a number of celebrities and influencers attempted to gaslight people by describing the riots in Los Angeles as mostly peaceful protests and a manufactured crisis. Well, we will not endeavor to have an opinion either way on that on this channel.
I guess not.
No, I'm joking. But William Shatner was not one of them. In fact, Shatner has asked his followers to donate to the Los Angeles Police Museum, which was vandalized during the riots and now requires urgent repairs. If you recall, one such celebrity who claimed the riots were a manufactured crisis was Felicia Day. This is Phantom Poe. Okay, she wrote on X, I'm here to say that it's a gorgeous day in LA. I drove all around town. Everything is normal. The most peaceful protests are happening in one tiny area of downtown, easily manageable by local officials. Don't believe the media hype. This is a manufactured crisis. So she's going against what the media was saying.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now, about a month after the riots, William Shatner shared a message from the Los Angeles Police Museum asking for donations to help repair it after it was damaged by the violent rioters. The museum's executive director, Erica Arias, wrote, as many of you know, the Los Angeles Police Museum was vandalized during the recent unrest. While none of our artifacts were harmed, the building itself was damaged and now requires urgent repairs and added security. This has created an unexpected strain on our already limited budget. We also had to cancel our beloved cigar night, one of our most meaningful and well-supported fundraisers. You would have probably liked that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I know the fundraiser he's talking about. You go and you it's a great social event, and you contribute money for the police.
I had a cigar once.
Did you like it?
Yes, I did actually.
See? Yeah.
The museum receives no city funding. We operate entirely on donations from supports like you, officers, retirees, and families, believe in preserving the history and legacy of the LAPD.
Mm-hmm.
Shatner shared his message and added, Los Angelinos, it's come to my attention that LAPD's History Museum was vandalized and the civil unrest surrounding the recent federal immigration enforcement operation. The museum is seeking donations for repairs and related expenses. He then encouraged followers to donate here, and he gave the link. So there you go.
Yep.
And I could probably post that link myself. Hold on. But I mean, I think it's cool that William Shatner is going against the grain, but I don't know.
I think this is another thing that I think plays into his age. He's got no F's to give anymore, and he is not going to, toe anybody's corporate line. He's going to say whatever's on his mind, and to heck with what anyone thinks about it.
To heck with anyone thinks about it. And that's the last story of the night. But do look into supporting. Apparently, lots of places over the weekend too were vandalized. I'm sure people will be needing donations. But
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mostly peaceful protests, right?
No,
it's the portion that's not peaceful that's a real problem. But apparently, people in California have no problem with that. They think that's a good thing.
There may have been one tiny peaceful protest on a tiny corner someplace, yes, and the rest were but we're not affiliated with those.
Right.
Started watching G.I. Joe series 1985. Okay, cool.
Oh, good. You're in for a treat. Assuming that's your kind of thing. I think you're gonna enjoy it. Yeah.
I always thought the toys were cool.
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, we could do a whole talk about that too. How they really revolutionized the action figure industry at the time. They literally took us from 5 POA to joints, and articulation has just been going up ever since.
I don't know though. I think that we had some interesting news tonight. I feel like we keep talking about the dismal gaming industry, which we didn't used to do. I mean, it was usually not negative, and now things are falling apart.
I mean, we have to go where the current events take us, and things have been pretty.
It's funny Lester mentions the PlayStation 4, though, because, you could pretty much ride out the PlayStation 5. I mean, I actually will give credit to Sony. They do not abandon their old consoles. I mean, I think they keep saying they're going to, but you can still buy games on the PlayStation 4. Even physical games get releases on the PlayStation 4 still. I mean, it's not as much.
I mean, imagine that. Hey, people are still buying stuff for this. We can make money on this. Maybe we should do this.
The big test will be, because apparently Nintendo was saying, we still have more stuff in the pike for the original Switch. We'll see. Nintendo has typically abandoned their old consoles when the new console has come out. But the Switch has such a huge user base. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. But what do we got going on? Any reserved seats tonight, deleted scenes?
Yes, if you if you are on Netter's channel or my channel, you will be auto-dramatically redirected over to reserved seats. I will drop the link for those of you that are here on I almost said Big Al's on Aged Boomer's channel, so that you can head over there yourself. He has a wonderful guest, Wilkie's Movies and Music, a great channel that when he's got a live stream on Fridays, I forward my liquid lunch to his channel, and I would appreciate if you'd go over there, hit the like button on Deleted's channel, and then get over to Wilkie's and make sure that you are subscribed to him.
Cool. And then Monday.
Well, like I said, members on my channel, we will be watching. What are we watching?
You have a poll up. You think Clue's winning? Clue.
Oh, right, Clue. Right, I'm still thinking about St. Elmo's Fire, and I'm like, no, wait a minute. We've seen St. Elmo's
Flames,
Fire.
flames fall.
Flames on the side of my face. Yes.
Yes.
We will be
I
watching
hated
Clue
her
from 1985. I hated her so much.
And I was sort of nodding my head with her when she was saying all that. It's like, she has a point.
Yeah.
With that one scene.
But yeah, from 1985, Clue. So if you are a member, I hope to see you there. If you're not a member, I hope you will consider becoming a member for as little as $2 a month to support what we do here. And that's Monday. Tuesday,
We have live from Sparkwood N21, where we will be doing a deep dive into Lost Highway.
and I think how we're doing it is we're going to have each one of the panel members kind of give their take. I think we should start with Netter. Let Netter give her take on Lost Highway, and then kind of do a round robin.
Sounds like a good round table.
Summed up in one sentence.
That's what I figured. Yeah, that's what I figured.
It's all Flappy's dream, right? And that's what we'll say.
I had not even considered that. You should bring that up when you get to your discussion of it.
No, I think that was Flappy's suggestion. Maybe I'll mention that. Yeah, but no, I'm telling you, he got in big trouble over slashing Marilyn Manson like that live on set.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that's
really worth. And then he was stuck during Mulholland Drive's premiere as Tweety Bird on Hollywood Walk of Fame, getting pictures taken as Tweety Bird. It's humiliating. Anyway, what was I going to talk about? Tuesday, Lost Highway. Wednesday, anything going on?
Not Wednesday. No.
Thursday on Netter's Network, Thursday things.
I am solidifying a guest.
Oh.
And once I get the confirmation, I can reveal who that is.
Yeah, because those dissolved guests don't work out very well. We need them solidified first.
Yeah, that's an idea. Okay. I'm sorry. I got lost in thought. And then Friday, call, we will have
you and I are going to still decide what it is we're going to be.
Sounds good.
And that brings us to Saturday. Big Al presents Films with Friends. There's going to be a movie. I don't remember which one it is, though. So definitely make sure you are subscribed to Big Al presents Films with Friends. And we will... We'll have by tomorrow I'll have the promos ready to go so that you guys can start seeing what we got coming up this week.
Okay. All right. And then we will have Sunday, Geeky Geezers, where we'll be talking about
we've already started
destroying our games or whatever, the movement that we're talking about, yes.
Yeah, video
Save
games.
our games, yes.
Sales dropping sharply, and let's talk about that.
We'll talk about that next Sunday, and actually, I think I'm going to do some investigation. We got to find out what has the box office been like this year for this Hollywood. That's what I'm curious. What are the winners?
Yeah, we should look into that. That's a great point.
All right, man. I'll catch y'all later, and y'all have a good week, and be sure to tune in later this evening. Get yourself a snack. All right, we ended. Well, it's not quite 11 yet, man. But I guess it will be once the credits roll, right?
It will.
Okay.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.